The way I see it, New Zealanders pride themselves on being resilient. But we all know that's not always the case, and anyone can go through tough times. In many ways, though, it's the struggles we go through that actually shape us as people. I'm Scotty Stevenson, and I'm about to meet some incredible Kiwis to have some meaningful, revealing, inspiring, and hopefully helpful conversations about their own day-to-day challenges and what it's like to come through the other side of mentally tough times and get back on the up. Welcome to The Upside, brought to you by AIA Vitality.
Awa Puna, this is a treat for me because I've watched your life progress alongside your career. But I guess my first question is, how would we describe Awa Puna today?
How would we describe Awa Puna? Probably very ditzy, clumsy, but like also quite ambitious, maybe? Yeah.
You seem very ambitious. Being transgender now is a conversation in our society. It's an increasingly common conversation, and we increasingly see children who are learning to accept that they are transgender and who are making that change for the positive. But that wasn't always the case for you. And I want to take you back to your childhood, if I could, and try to understand how early it was where those feelings that you weren't in the right body started to manifest for you.
Yeah, those feelings came from like as far back as I can remember. I remember being literally the first memories that I had was, you know, wanting to be Lucy Liu and Charlie's Angels. And like, you know, I used to tell my mum that I was like had a girl's heart and a boy's body and stuff. And yeah, ever since it was always there, I guess. Yeah.
I want to get to the positive side of things, but is it okay to talk about that very dark day for you when I might not have had the opportunity to be sitting with you today?
Yeah. So I was in year 10. I had one very close friend who, at the time we had a falling out, and she ended up putting, I don't know if she either logged into my Facebook or made a new one. And then someone came up to me and they were like, "Oh, by the way, what you said, it was real brave what you said." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they told me that I had apparently come out as trans and done a Facebook post about it. I hadn't. So I kind of asked them what they said, and they told me, and I just immediately started bawling my eyes out because I hadn't told anyone apart from that person. So it was yeah.
It's the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah, it was. I was pretty broken. Yeah, but leading up to that was kind of a dark place because I ended up in hospital. I just felt so, you know, I felt like I couldn't really go on, and yeah.
It is a tough place for a kid to find herself or himself. Was it a turning point, do you think, after that? Was it a chance for you to, and for those around you, to understand that this was not some crazy phase you were going through? This was who you were, and you needed that validation.
Yeah, I guess it was because my mum ended up sitting my brothers down, who, you know, would always lightly, it wasn't like bullying or anything, but it was like, you know, cut your hair, blah, blah, like always just, you know, picking on siblings, how you do. But I guess with everything that was happening at school and everything that was happening internally, and it was all getting a lot, and she sat them down and she said, "Look, this is the difference between Awa wanting to be her or not." And she doesn't have her family what else is she going to have, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a powerful statement to make.
Mm.
You made the decision, along with your parents and principal of the school, that as you entered year 10, you were turning up and you were going to wear a girl's uniform.
Yeah, yeah. It was year 11.
Year 11? Yeah.
Kind of the end of year 10 when I realised, like, no, I'm gonna show up this year as myself. And I came in a school uniform, the girls' school uniform, and I remember like being stared at by absolutely everyone because they were like, something's different, you know. Like, because all the years before, I used to walk around with this big art folder and trying to hide my shorts.
Yeah.
So it would, you know, so it was pretty, that was the year. And I remember one of my friends saying, it's okay to come in the, you know, girls' bathroom and stuff. And it was like very, very affirming.
I want to know how you felt that day. It takes bravery to be who you are in life. Doesn't matter, for anyone it takes bravery. Did you feel liberated in a way?
I felt extremely liberated. I felt like, you know, nothing was going to be able to stop me now. And like, I knew so many people were talking behind my back, so I could like see it literally a few meters away from me kind of happening. But I had this reassurance, and I think it's because I had a lot of people standing beside me and behind me. Like, it was the support of my friends and my family who made it okay, because it's not weird, you know. It's just the reality, and I wasn't affecting anyone, or you know, it didn't matter. It was I'm just Awa.
You wouldn't have had any real role models around you, someone to look at to say, that person is like me, or I'm like that person, and I could learn from that. So you're figuring this all out, and the way I understand it, you figured out a lot of this through your own creativity. You were telling your story and the stories you told. Was that something that you think was just subconscious in you, or were you trying to grasp the totality of your situation through telling stories, your own drawings, your own art?
Yeah, I guess I was, because like back when I was, I don't know, having all these feelings like around, you know, even when I was like 9 and 10 and trying to figure everything out, there was still no role model. I didn't even know what transgender meant. I just knew how I felt deep inside, and I used to think every day, why out of the how many billion people in the world, like why was it just me who was kind of, why wasn't I the only person who kind of felt like this?
That's a lonely place to be.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was really weird thinking that I was the only person. You know, it made me feel like a little bit of an outsider, I guess. But that's why I ran away to art, like filmmaking, because I could be anyone I wanted to be, and I always named my characters like gender neutral names, so I could kind of go under the radar. And I'd always wear like Canterbury pants and thermal tops, just so I didn't have to quite be labelled as a boy. You know. Yeah.
Kapiti Coast too, it's a small community. Kapiti College is a small school.
Yeah.
And you're struggling with all of this while being in those semi-rural areas, I know from experience, where everyone knows everyone. So there's a fear, isn't there, of losing that, even though that's not giving you everything you need. It's like breaking that chain completely must have been terrifically frightening for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it became quite apparent in high school that it wasn't going to work out well. And I couldn't just ride on kind of passing as gender neutral anymore. And yeah, that's when things got pretty hard.
Storytelling for you has always been important. Acting is now what you do. Filmmaking, script writing, all of these outlets, but central to your storytelling is quite often the trans issue. Do you feel that it is a responsibility or a necessity for you to tell these kinds of stories?
I think it's both, and I think when I choose to tell the stories, it's a responsibility. But I think I choose to tell the stories because people deserve to hear more about them, and because there is so much anti-trans rhetoric, and so much of that is ingrained into the way people have learnt and seen and the way they see trans people. I feel like we deserve to see what it is, what trans people really are, and being able to see trans people love on screen, being able to see them be loved on screen, humanizing them, because there are people out there who want to kill people like us. So yeah,
it's a tough place to be. A tough place to be, but day after day you get up and you carry on and you put into this world beautiful things, including yourself through your acting, but the films you make and the roles that you play and the shows that you choose to be part of. And they are beautiful stories. Is that the motivation each morning to get up and to be yourself?
Yeah, I guess, I guess art is what makes me very happy, and just storytelling in general, just exploring voices that need to be heard more. And it makes me really excited, just things that we haven't seen before.
When you think about how far you come, and you appeared in Whina, the movie, the Dame Whina Cooper story. You appeared in that movie portraying a cis woman. What was that like for you? Was that a feeling that, goodness me, look how far I have come and embracing who I am? Or was there something deeper about that for you?
It was very affirming playing I guess you could say cis woman. It was never said in the script that she was trans, but it was kind of like, I guess this is how it could and should be. Maybe it's like, I'm trans. It's like, and it's not really. It shouldn't really be that big of a deal. It's kind of, I'm just a person playing a person. So it's, it was really nice. I had so much fun playing that character.
What about your recent work and all of the things that you're currently involved in, be it your role with Short and Street or other movie roles, television show roles? What is that process like for you as an actor, being out there, putting yourself out there time after time?
Yeah, it's very liberating. I feel like I've done some roles that I've said yes to before, and it's playing kind of, sometimes I've played like a stereotype of a trans woman. And over the years, I've had met role models who I've really looked up to, who have kind of taught me a little bit about integrity, because I think that's something I didn't used to have in a way, because I would just say yes to everything and I didn't really know what was right or whatever. So I feel like having the chance to do acting it's like learning, because you do so much like research about different characters, and you learn a whole different way of seeing the world, because sometimes you step into shoes that you don't agree with even, and you still understand where they're coming from, Yeah.
Humans are humans.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very heartwarming.
Once you decided to be public about who you were as a person, things kind of escalated pretty rapidly. Before we know it, there is Born This Way, a documentary about you. It takes an awful lot of courage to go through what you went through, then to say, this is me, and then to invite a crew into your life to tell your story. What was the process behind deciding, if I'm going to go this far, I may as well go all the way?
I don't really know if there was one. Yeah, it just kind of just happened that I realised that maybe I was starting to not only talk about myself now, but about other people's experiences in a way, you know. A lot of other people, you know, everyone's experiences are different, but maybe that me telling my story could potentially help other people, or you know, people would just recognise, you know, like the 9-year-old me might be like, oh, there is someone out there who feels the same way as me, and I'm not the only person out of 8 billion people. So I guess it just kind of happened by accident a little bit.
Because you were already talking about this stuff. You were talking about your life. You were engaging people. You set up your YouTube. You were talking to an audience. You'd invited them in. And because this was your creative outlet as well.
Yeah.
Creativity and almost a form of activism for you went hand in hand.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, I guess in a way, there's no way I can't fight for what I believe in.
I mentioned the word activism earlier because whether it's by design or because of who you are as a person, you have found yourself now front and centre, representing those like you, both from a Māori point of view and a trans point of view. And there was one occasion here in Auckland not so long ago where you were exposed to the full wrath of that anti-trans movement that you've just spoken about. Posey Parker was obviously a British speaker who was here to talk about her opposition to trans issues. You arrived front and centre to protest that korero.
Yeah, that was definitely a moment. Yeah, me and my flat ended up going to the anti-protest. Well, the protest, I guess, but up at Albert Park, and it was actually so beautiful. Because I cried so much realizing how much support there was for the trans community, how many allies, how many of us were there to share light and liberation, and you know everyone was screaming trans rights forever, and I had tears streaming down my face, and then we were told that there was going to be a Posey Parker protest down on Victoria Street. So we realised her korero and her rhetoric was still going to happen, and her speech and her being able to spread hate, I guess. So we went down there, and I've never felt so so many people are against my way of living before than that day. Just seeing it right in front, being able to actually see how many people. One lady was holding her pram, and she runs away from her pram to come up to us. She spits right here on me, and it just happened so quickly that I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And then she runs back to her pram, and I was like, that is crazy. So we ended up walking with the protest. You know, it was kind of like side by side. We were both fighting for our cause. And then my shoe got stood on while I was holding a poster, walking backwards, and they stood on my shoe. So I went to go pick it up, and when I went to pick it up, I got pulled by the hair down to the ground, and got tapped. But got shoved right to the ground and got stood on a bit. My boyfriend grabs me by the arm, rips me out, and I was okay, but it was really crazy.
You've felt the power of people's words, hateful words, so much in your life. But you were physically assaulted. That's a very different thing. That's a physical manifestation of that mental torment that you've been through. I wonder how long it took you to process what had just happened to you after that, because it's a very different thing to be assaulted for being who you are.
Yeah. I for quite a while after that, I was in a real bad place. I just to realize there's that many people who don't want you.
You felt like they were everywhere all of a sudden.
Yeah.
If you had a mantra for us and all that you have dealt with and all that you still cope with, something for us to hang our hats on to say when we're not feeling like the world's going our way, what can we do? Is there something you wake up in the morning with each day and are grateful for?
I think it would just be pour your heart into something that gives you light.
That's some pretty good advice.
I think it's helped me a bit, because it means you have somewhere to run away to when, and it's helped me for sure.
Thanks for being here still.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure.
And thanks for being a part of the episode with us today, Awa Puna. It's been
Thank
a
you.
real gift. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you so much.
To access support for transgender people and their families, please contact Agenda New Zealand at www.agenda.org.nz or Rainbow Youth at www.ry.org.nz. If you think you or someone you know may be thinking about suicide, call the Suicide Crisis Helpline on 0508 828 865 for support. If you believe either you or someone you know is in immediate danger, please call 111.
The Upside, brought to you by AIA Vitality. Find out more at aiavitality.co.nz.